Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our Parenthood podcast where we have conversations on principles and practical things about parenting, marriage, and family life. Today, I am excited because we invited my good friend, Jen Chan. She is a fellow homeschool mom of two girls, and her eldest is actually one of my daughter's very, very good friends. And my daughter has declared her to be one of her BFFs. Okay, like me, Jen also loves black coffee.
Yes.
I love good black coffee. Jen loves taking care of pets, and she's a. Do you call yourself a plantita? She's into plants.
I'm into plants. Yes.
Okay. I don't know if,
Yeah.
yeah, as you can, yeah, we can see that in your background. And she loves storytelling. And I must say, she is very good at it.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
Jen actually has a YouTube channel, and I think it's all about storytelling, right? You telling stories and reading
Yes.
books aloud, right? It's Diesel Girl 77. Later, I will ask you why this name,
Why
because
not
I'm
unleaded?
curious. But trivia,
Sige, mamaya.
oh, mamaya, I will ask you, huh? And Jen,
Okay.
you were a host, right? Of a radio show for 7 years?
Yes, I work in 98.7 DZFE, the classical radio station, for about 7 years.
When was that? Were you married then?
I
Did you
was
have kids?
married and I had our Stella, our first daughter. But when we had Olivia, my second, I had to stop because it became the load was I couldn't do the load since we were homeschooling and I had to do my own scripts. So medyo mabigat.
Wow.
Parang it felt like I was writing a term paper every week.
Wow.
So maybe next time.
And there are a lot of foreign names. Diba? 98.7, that's the master's touch.
Yes, it's the
I
master
listen to
touch.
that. The classical
Yes.
music. If I wanted to let my kids relax and be quiet in the car, I would play 98.7. I remember that.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's very relaxing. And yes, there are many foreign names and words. So I learned a little, I know, foreign language.
Galing. Okay, so why Diesel Girl 77? Yun muna, I want to get that out of the way.
Actually, it's so funny because that was my account name since I was in college. I don't know if
Yeah,
you remember, di
Diesel.
ba uso dati yung diesel jeans? Eh,
Oh,
yun na yung ginamit ko na email address. So I
Okay.
don't know how to change it. I'm so low tech and it just stuck. But then
Okay.
if anyone wants to search the storytelling channel, they can also search storytelling with Jen.
Okay,
That's
that's
the
easier to
title.
remember.
Yeah, storytelling with Jen. And I think the it will come out, the account.
Okay. I had the impression that diesel meant, di ba pag ano, pag mabagal mag-warm up na
Oh, medyo ganun
tao,
din naman
diesel.
ako.
So, ganon, yung feeling ko din. Yung mabagal mag-warm up in a conversation, ganyan, diesel. So, yun lang akala ko.
so let's go
Okay.
full gear today.
Yun,
Naks.
go, pasok.
All right, let's
Pasok.
go.
Right. No, I think one of the things that parents have lost, and I grew up with nobody telling me stories, but I love storytelling. So I tell stories to my siblings at the time. We would use Barbie dolls and action figures to tell stories. And I think it has helped me now in my job. I do storytelling every week, right?
Right.
And we've lost that art. And when I saw your channel and I saw how you do it, and I saw Tammy doing it to our kids, they do read aloud. You know, I'm so appreciative of parents who actually do the art of storytelling because it helps the imagination of kids. And that's why we've invited you here in our show, because we want to tell our neighbors, our parenthood, about the power of storytelling and how they could be good at doing storytelling to their kids. No?
Yeah. So,
Yes.
can you tell us first, how is it like with your family? Give us, I think, a picture of how you do things in your family. Yeah, maybe the rhythm.
Okay. Because we are a homeschooling family, a large part of our homeschooling is spent doing read alouds. So even if my daughter is already 11 years old, I still do read alouds with them together. We do what is called biography homeschooling. So I read them biographies.
Mm.
I'll give you an example. For example, this book. This is a simple biography. who is Malala Yousafzai? Diba may series? Or sometimes we
Mm.
use things like um, missionary biographies, make safe. So I would read through a chapter a day, and each paragraph or a sentence, I'd stop. For example, the missionary went to Peru, and then I'll say, "Where's Peru?" And then we'll go to the globe and we'll look at it, and then we'll learn about the country. And as the story progresses, we learn about the struggles, what the culture was at that time, technology. So a lot of history is tackled during our read alouds.
Mm.
And when there are problems, I ask them, how would you do it if you were in that situation? So you get to see how your children think. So there's a
Mm.
Mm.
lot of discussion that goes on when we do our storytelling.
Yeah.
And this started when they were born. Actually, when Stella was first born, I just started reading storybooks to her every night. And when we started homeschooling, that's when I learned about the beauty of read alouds. And we just never stopped.
Mm. Yeah, I was
Wow.
going to ask, how did it start for you? Like, did it have anything to do with your hosting, or did it have, like, was it something that you grew up with as a kid? You were also, you had a lot of exposure to read alouds. Like, what made you decide to try it and to start being consistent with it?
Okay. Um, Actually, I don't think I was read aloud to when I was young. And I wasn't a particular bookworm. It's not like I love books so much. I mean, I like to read, but I'm not a bookworm. And I see God's providence in my hosting stint because I feel like He prepared me to speak well because of the 7 years I was working in the radio station and the training. I'm using it with my own children, which I feel is such a blessing. Every
Mm.
time I thank God, so Lord, thank you for that experience because I get to use that training in our own homeschooling journey because my kids are interested to listen. I learned how to speak and read because of the radio stint. And the reason why I continued, well, first I started one homeschooling guru, or parang she's been homeschooling for a long time. She said, I was so worried about starting homeschooling. And I said, what am I going to do? How are my children going to learn? Or how's Stella going to learn? And then she said, you know what? Just read to her. Just
Mm.
read to her every day and she will learn. And I was like, why? Why will she learn? I don't understand. What about worksheets? What about doing experiments and everything? No, no, just read to her. Because when you read to her, first, she will listen to your voice. She will learn to love your voice. Not the sound of my voice, but she will learn to appreciate your voice and listen to it. Meaning, when she gets older, your voice is a voice that she will listen to
Nice.
Mm.
because she will have positive feelings associated with it. And that will foster learning. So when I heard that, I go, oh, so profound. But then when I continued doing it, I saw that it worked. And
Mm.
even teaching the kids how to read, I never did the flashcard thing, or we just did basic phonics, but just reading Dr. Seuss. I was so surprised. We're just reading pop on top, or something like that, and then you can read it on
Pop
your
on
own.
pop.
Pop on pop. Yun, pop on pop. So sabi ko, I was so surprised because I did not learn how to read that way. But with my own children, when I was reading to them, reading came so natural to them. And the reason I also persevered, like Stella, my eldest, she's now 11. She was a late reader. I was very worried. She was 5 and she wasn't reading. She didn't enjoy it. And of course, being in a competitive culture, I would see other families, oh, 5-year-old, she's already reading a chapter book, and my daughter doesn't even want to read a board book. Why? And the tendency as parents is you want to push your kids, but hey, everybody your age is already doing this. Why are you not doing
Mm.
it? But the more I pushed her, alam mo naman mga bata, you know how kids are, when you push them all the more, they get so, no, I don't want to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I backed off. And then I just read until one day I just saw her reading on her own. And I really feel like I did not do, it's really, I feel like it's really God. It was not because I planted so many seeds, we did so many worksheets, I trained her. So it wasn't. It was just sitting together in bed and reading stories, you know, that experience of just being together. And
Yeah.
now she's such a bookworm.
Oh.
We have to
Stop
um
her.
kind of we kind of have to reel her in because di na niya kami pinapansin. She's always reading, you know what I mean? But
Mm.
that's what helps me continue.
Mm. I like what you said about them learning to listen to your voice and having that, like, associating your voice with good memories. And I think at the end of the
Yeah,
day, diba, we want, even with learning, we want them to not just know how to read, but love to read, know how to,
right.
like, know information, but love learning and love taking in that information and learn to think, right?
Yeah,
And I like how you mentioned, um you go from one story and then you jump off to one, like you go on a whole exploration about
yeah,
many things, right? And it doesn't have to be something that you push on your kids,
Mm.
but
mm,
they ride the wave. Parang ganon.
I
Yeah.
have
yes,
a question. Just a
yes.
curious question. I've asked Tammy this because I got surprised that she wants my eldest daughter, who's 14, Mika, who's also 12,
Well,
to be part of the read aloud. I said, you don't read aloud to, older kids. That's for younger kids. Why are you forcing them to sit down
do I
with the
force?
no,
I
it's
just
part of the,
want to be
it's
with
part of
them.
the homeschool experience of older kids with age gap to a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're sitting down together as a family reading aloud,
And
and
reading the same book.
and then you said the same thing that your eldest and your youngest are together when you do read alouds. What's the reasoning behind this practice?
Okay. First, I always joke that I'm a lazy homeschooling mom. By reading aloud to my two kids, I get to hit two birds with one stone.
Yes.
I spend an hour or an hour and a half, but I'm teaching both of them. I don't have to carve out an hour for you and an hour for you later in the afternoon. That's one, the convenience. Number two, we're learning together. It becomes a
Yeah.
collaboration. The younger child can have insights that the older child can learn something from, and vice versa.
Mm.
And number three, I love our discussions as a family. I feel like it really bonds us together because even I learn from my kids. Like if they have an insight, and I'll be, we could, I didn't see that. That's awesome. Or they ask me difficult questions that I myself don't know how to answer, and I'll be forced to research. So we learn together. That's number
Mm.
three. Um, Number four, when you open a book, especially right now since we're doing biographies, I am amazed at the wealth of learnings that you can get from it. I mean,
Mm.
everything's there: character, history, geography. I just find it more exciting because it's real, and it has a context. I don't have to learn geography just by looking at a globe. Now we know that, oh, California is this far from Mexico because that's where Nate Saint traveled. Things like that. And yeah.
Galing, meron ka agad number one, number two, number three. Ang organized ng thoughts mo. Ako like, okay, number three, ganyan. You see,
Yeah.
Dennis, it's tama, di ba?
So should dads get involved in the read
Oh,
aloud?
good
Ah.
question. Yeah. So what's the role of
Yes or
Mark, for
no? Yes or
example?
Well, Mark
no?
doesn't do read alouds, but at night when we do read alouds before they go to bed, he's there.
Mhm.
Sometimes he would make a comment, but most of the time I do the processing with them or I ask the questions. But of course, dads are more than welcome. The more the merrier because the
Yeah.
discussion becomes richer, right?
Yes. Mm.
Yeah.
Ako kasi
Oh,
I'm the YouTube resource eh. So they read aloud. We can watch that later on YouTube. I'll show you guys.
yeah. Like ngayon, we're reading aloud a story. Tapos, sabi niya, oh, there's a movie. You wanna watch the movie version of that?
Pwede naman eh. Pwede. Um, I wanted to add pala, your pastor's question was, how can an older kid be a part of this? Well, so far, my 11-year-old, thank God, she's still interested. Maybe because we did it right from the start.
Yeah.
Um, I'm amazed that they still listen to me. So I'm gonna do it until there's until I still have their attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ako walang bola no. When I saw your video, there are nights that I don't want to do read aloud. I just play your video. And yeah, it's so nice. I said, kids, listen to this. Tita Jen.
Thank you.
Tita Jen will tell the story tonight.
Yan. So,
Thank
plugging
you.
talaga nung video mo, di ba? And no, ako, amazed ako. I remember we had a program for our homeschool program for our United Nations. Remember that? And you were in
Yes.
charge of reading aloud to the kids. And I remember it was a noisy, like, auditorium. Hindi naman siya auditorium, pero parang events place. There
Parang
was a lot of,
hall.
oh,
Oh.
so, and then it was made of glass and concrete. So, ang ingay-ingay. There was a lot of noise. And then all of a sudden, the noise settled down and I noticed the kids started just sitting and settling down. And I was wondering what's up. And it was because you started telling a story. So how do you keep kids engaged? Like I think the challenge if there are like kami, many daming ages, right? From preschool and sometimes I choose a certain book the little one will be there, but I'm not sure how much he's listening or he's paying attention. So how do you keep so I was amazed because from parents to high school, grade school, and younger kids, preschool kids, they were all listening to the story you were sharing. So are there ways or
Best
practical
practices.
tips on how you can keep them engaged?
Okay. I actually didn't know that everyone was listening.
No,
I guess I was so
pati
I
ako,
was
I
so
stopped talking and listened. Ako pala yung
okay.
parents yung may ganun
Um,
eh.
I think ano na yan, God's grace. But if I were if I were to give tips, maybe one is to find material that you think will interest your kids. So for example, with these two, there were times I was reading a book and they were so bored. So it was also kind of like a biography, and then part way through I said Ion and I don't like it, so we stopped. And then there are times that they found it boring, and then I would ask them, "Do you want to continue? What you want to give this a chance? Just one more chapter. What if after this chapter it becomes exciting? Why don't we wait?" This way, it teaches us also to commit to
Mm.
what we're reading because we don't know what's going to happen in the next chapter. What if somebody gets into an accident and then becomes exciting or something like that? So um, I also try to ask questions. So I'm not just reading. That way they're engaged with the material. So I do a lot of pauses. But sometimes my kids complain. They'll say, "Mom, you're going so far already from the story. Can
Too
you
much
just go back?"
processing.
Yeah, too much processing. So I try to engage them with the material. So sometimes when we do that, I really have to park the story because they become so interested in the branch where we headed. So for example, I think when we were reading about William Shakespeare, there was a period he was my play. There was a plague in London. We had to park our story because we got lost in YouTube just watching videos on the plague. So parang ganun. But that keeps
Mm.
them interested in
Yeah.
the story. And what I wanted to add is I thought 5-year-olds or 4-year-olds will not be interested in chapter books. I thought young kids will only read or will only listen to picture books. But doing read alouds, I was surprised to find out that kids as young as 3 can actually sit down and listen to a whole chapter without pictures. And the
Mm.
way to engage them, of course, you have to read it in an entertaining manner. Try to change your voice when it's different characters, or when it's a sad part, you read it very gloomily. When it's exciting, what's happening? You try to make it exciting. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So si Dennis kasi, when he tells us, lalaglag kita, hindi, love kita, for lalaglag. So, funny siya, kasi he has this storytelling mode na voice. And it's like this. So when no, it's like a grandpa. Telling stories. Da, 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 da. And every time he's in the storytelling mode, it's like that. Except when it's from his own imagination. So, napansin mo yun?
Yeah, because I was trained with action figures nga. I wasn't trained with books. So I would use toys as a storytelling tool and not the books. So when it comes to books, dapat mga Walt Disney so I can be Mickey Mouse and Goofy and Donald Duck. But the classics, it's kind of hard for me. It's a challenge actually for me to read classics. And I know those are the books that are worth doing read aloud. No, the classic books, the nice books, the one with deeper English and rather than the entertainment purposes.
Or
Rambo,
both.
Care Bears,
Mga
yeah.
character based. So you mentioned choosing good books. Do you have tips on how we can choose good books?
Okay. I In homeschool there's a term called living books.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to I okay, I will define it this way. A living book is where you get to engage a child's imagination. You challenge their comprehension and their problem solving skills. I'm not saying that a book always has to be deep, it can be funny, but the words, the writing, pwedeng parang poem. But Pastor, you were saying you're limited to Care Bears. That's fine. It's okay because your goal is to bond with your kids also. So you can start with that.
And Care
But
Bear
when I,
share.
yeah, Care Bears, it's
Yeah, Care
fine.
Bear share.
Gusto niya kasi
Yeah.
gayahin mga boses nila.
Oh, I think that's okay. It doesn't have to be like, but ako personally, when I choose books, I want the language not to be good. So of course, good grammar. Maybe there are words that kids don't normally encounter, so that will provide us fodder for discussion. What does that word mean? It's so deep, things like that. And then there is a challenge in the book, like a problem that needs to be solved, so that can also be part of your discussion. Why was that little engine, like later we can talk about it, why is that little engine sad or something like that? And I also like to get books that have really good artwork. So if you're gonna buy picture books or storybooks for kids, I try to find books that challenge the imagination. So I'll give you an example. Have you seen this book? Little Blue and Little Yellow.
That by
When you open kay Leo,
Leo,
yeah, Leo Leone,
yes.
it's so basic. It's like, ganyan lang siya, oh. Dots. But actually, these two dots represent two friends. Little blue and little yellow. And nung naging friend, yung nag-hug sila, nag-iiba sila ng color.
Hmm.
So when you read this to your child, not only do you have a story to tell, it engages their imagination, and you can talk about art. Hey, if you mix yellow and blue, it turns into green. Or why did they become green when they hug? So that can be another deeper conversation, like, oh, when you hug your friends or when you bond with your friends, it's like you become one, or things like that.
Yeah.
So artwork counts for a lot. The language, the challenges that they need to overcome. Yeah.
Nice. I'm taking notes. Good language, good artwork, problem solving.
Yes.
Problems that need to be solved. And do you have like a guideline on how you can ask good questions. Because you mentioned about choose good books, how to engage kids, choose good books and ask good questions to engage their imagination or challenge their thinking. So do you have like for those na hindi talaga ako maganon, Jen, like I'm not the type to ask good questions. How can I ask good questions that can engage them?
Okay. For example, in this book, I'll use this na lang.
Yeah, that's such
You
a nice book.
Actually, it's a very nice book. It's so simple, but it has a lot of principles in it.
Mm.
Try not to point out the things you see. You try to make your kids see it for themselves. So you ask questions that will help them see it for themselves. So, for example, um, what do you think about that little yellow going out of his house by himself? So I don't judge the character. I want the kids to decide for themselves. So I don't go, grabe naman yung parents niya, they let the kid out by himself. I want my kids to say, I think it's okay that they went out by themselves. And I would ask them, why do you think that's okay? And what's the role of a parent, right? Or, things like that. So it's more of a leading question instead of pointing things out for them.
Mm.
You
Mm.
want them to realize things on their own. And then
Mm.
when they have problems, like I think in this book, the parents the parents of the little blue and little yellow didn't want to they didn't want them to come home because they turned green. So they were
Mm.
crying. I would ask my kids, so that's the problem in the book. As a parent, you can ask your kids, oh no, if you were little blue and little yellow, what would you do? So then the
Mm.
wheels in their heads will start turning, and then you'll see how your kids process problems.
Mm. Yeah, I like that because I think as homeschool moms, no, the tendency is this is a teachable moment. Just in case you did not pick that up, my child, let me lay it out for you. Right? Okay, so what about for parents who are working parents and they feel like at the end of the day I'm spent or in terms of having that consistency and that energy, or for some parents, ayoko na paulit-ulit. Parang we've read this book 20 times. Or what can you say to those parents who seem to find it more challenging to really make it a part of their lifestyle?
Okay. Um, Maybe the parents also need to ask themselves what their goals are for their children. And I do this because my goal is to develop a deeper relationship with my kids. I want us to have meaningful discussions. I want to teach my kids in a fun, engaging manner. So
Mm.
that's why this works out for us. So for parents, maybe they can ask themselves, is that something you want for yourself? Some parents I've spoken to find it intimidating because they'll say, I'm not good at storytelling, or parang they feel like it's not in them. But you can always start with a simple book. And honestly, when I read to my kids at night, it can just take 5 minutes. Just use a short story or a funny book, and then it's fun then to sit back and then have your kids beside you and you're just cuddling and reading a book together. That experience alone is already, I think, so beneficial for our kids.
Yeah. I actually wanted you to share nga, di ba, why you do it. And I'm so glad you brought that up. That more than anything, it's not really just a technique to get them to learn to read or to get them to love to read so that we won't have problems later on as we teach them or educate them, di ba? But it's it's a
Bonding.
it's a
Bonding
connection,
time.
forming
Yeah.
that connection with them. Right? Actually, kanina no sinabi mo, when you were making the number one, number two, I wrote three C's: convenience, collaboration, and connection. Yan.
Maganda yun ah. Kokopyahin ko. Okay yun.
Diba? And kasi I
Ah,
agree. I agree. It is very convenient. And we have four kids. So the homeschool time, like how do we divide it? We don't really necessarily have to divide the time between all four of them.
Yeah.
It's yun nga, it's more convenient and
Yes.
they learn much more than like minsan ako
Yes.
yung, ha, someone na pick up yon? How did you pick that up? Or where did you, diba yung, and minsan tayo yung, I know, it does something to me. And I think that's one of the things that I'd like to add also in choosing books. I was telling Dennis, we want to choose books that we ourselves will not be bored with, or
Yes.
we would actually enjoy reading it over and over because it's
Yes.
good quality. And I think that's
Yes.
a good measure of choosing books.
Mm-mm.
And thank
Yes.
you for saying it's just 5 minutes.
Mm.
5 minutes will do. I'm not saying it's just 5 minutes, but for those who feel intimidated, diba, with starting it, oh nga, 5 minutes. It's a 5 minutes. You check Facebook, you check,
5 minutes is
diba?
still better than no minutes. You know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree very much.
Yeah, I have a game plan for tonight. I cuddle the kids, you do the read aloud.
Play video.
I,
Yeah. I mean,
Actually,
mm-mm.
Tammy, I like what you said. Tama, choose a book that you yourself will enjoy. So when I pick children's books for my kids, even if it's a children's book, parang matutuwa ka. You'll be amused by the drawings or, yeah.
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 And I personally, as homeschooling, I feel like it's redeeming our own education. Like I think I am learning more now than when we were in school because of just how rich the ideas are from the
Mm.
books. That
Mm.
it's not
Yes,
just
agree.
textbook, diba? Na ano? So there's so much more. I'm
Yes.
excited.
Yeah. Any authors that you would recommend? Maybe your top three favorite authors.
Top 3, ang hirap noon. Top 5.
Top five
Top
or
10.
three to five authors that you would recommend
Yeah. Your go-to.
for mga younger kids.
Well, definitely, I recommend Leo Leon. His books are really, the artwork is simple, the language is fun, and there are many lessons to be gleaned from them.
Mm.
Mm.
Um, this is not an author, but we always use this, yung Christian heroes. If you're a
Yeah.
Christian family, we have a book set of this. So we read a lot of this because it will teach your kids to have a heart for missions or for others. And they're not in a cocoon, na, oh, this is my life and I'm just going to live it the way I want. By reading this, we get to see there's so much need out there.
Yeah.
Another one that I would recommend is this, yung the Who Was.
That
Who
series.
Was, Where Is. I recommend this. And for kids, for picture books, I don't have specific authors in mind, but based on what we discussed earlier, when you choose your books. Oh, another one pala, what is the name of that guy that wrote, series of unfortunate events? What's his name?
Lemony Snicket.
Lemony Snicket.
Yeah.
And Myra Kalman. I like them. Their artwork, their language, and their stories sometimes don't make any sense, but I find when I read it to the children, they like it so much. The words they use are big words.
Mm.
So they get to learn silly words na parang we don't use every day, but it's fun for them to learn.
Yeah.
Ako, I like si Robert Munch.
Robert Munch.
Yeah.
Because that's your style of storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
And
is Robert Munch? Hindi ko kilala.
I love you forever. I love you forever. I like you for
Okay.
always. Yeah. So
Okay,
I
okay.
heard that how he comes up with his books. He would tell the stories to kids, and then patok sa kids. The kids like it, and then it becomes a storybook because
Oh,
he's just
okay,
a
okay,
natural
Mm.
storyteller. So
okay.
yeah, kaya it's parang bagay siya for read aloud. It's fun. I also like him.
Pero favorite storyteller ko si Jen Chan.
Yon.
Wow,
Ayan.
Diesel girl.
Dahil
Bakit?
sample. Magsasample si Jen
Ayan.
sa atin. It would be good for our listeners, our viewers to hear a sample of how you do storytelling and read aloud.
okay.
So we've
Okay.
asked Jen to prepare a simple short story for everyone and hope you get to enjoy how she would do it so that you can copy it and do it to your kids as well.
Okay. Before I read, I wanted to add to what Tammy said
Go.
about bonding with your kids, the experience of just reading together. I wanted to add that when we do this with our children, we are setting up we're setting them up to listen to us more.
Mm.
And as their parents, it will be easier for us to teach them when they have these feelings of security and happiness being with us.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it has a lot of benefits.
May I add
See?
din pala before as you're preparing, I think the voice of parents are so critical because sometimes kids would grow up and when they hear the voice of the dad or the mom, ay sermon, ay negative. But if they grew up in an environment where there's storytelling, there's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of read aloud, they would hear that voice even when they grow up and say, I miss that voice, I want that voice because that voice brings a lot of happy memories for you.
Tama.
Mm.
Agree.
Yes. Ready ka na ba, Jen?
Yeah. I'll just switch the camera.
Okay.
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 Well,
So while you're switching the camera, di ko alam kung ngayon ko na ba dapat tanong eh. How has storytelling changed you as a mom or shape you as a mom?
ay, teka lang,
Oh.
handa
Ay,
na siya.
handa na pala. Sige,
Kala
yan.
ko
Mamaya.
tinatanong mo yung mga
O
viewers
sige,
natin.
sagutin ko muna.
Okay.
How it
Kala
has
ko
Alright,
matagal
go,
shaped me as
go,
a
i-set up,
go.
sanay
mom.
pala siya.
Storytelling has become such a big part of our homeschool and as parenting. I found that using other people's stories just enables me to teach my children in a more exciting and engaging way. It really has changed our lives, honestly.
Hmm.
So I totally recommend it to parents.
Yeah.
Super.
So yan, you will now teach us.
Yes, I
Show
will
us.
read to you this beloved, well known story, The Little Engine That Could. The Little Engine That Could, written by Watty Piper, with new art by Lauren Long. My puppy here is nangungulit. Okay. Chug, chug, chug. Puff, puff, puff. Ding dong, ding dong. The little train rumbled over the tracks. She was a happy little train. Her cars were filled with toy animals, giraffes with long necks. See? Teddy bears with almost no necks, and even a baby elephant. There were dolls and the funniest little toy clown you ever saw. Where's the clown? Or you can ask that to your kids, where's the clown? And then you can look at the artwork and say, what color is the elephant? But that was not all. Some cars were filled with good things for boys and girls to eat. Mmm, what things can we eat here? Golden oranges, red cheeked apples, bottles of milk, and even lollipops for after meal treats. Which one would you choose first, Tammy? Or Pastor?
All.
All
Ice
I will
cream.
I will eat
Ube ice cream.
I will eat the ice cream also. So you can talk about diet after.
Wag na.
Oo
Mommy.
nga eh. The little train was carrying all these wonderful things to the good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. She puffed along merrily. Then all of a sudden she stopped. She simply could not go another inch. She tried and tried, but her wheels would not turn. Oh no! Here comes a shiny new engine, said the little clown. All the dolls and toys cried out together, where's the shiny engine? There. Please, shiny new engine, won't you pull our train over the mountain? Our engine has broken down. See? And the boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or good food to eat unless you help us. What do you think that train is going to say? But the shiny new engine snorted. I pull you?
I am a passenger engine. My train has sleeping cars and a dining car with waiters to serve hungry people. I pull the likes of you? Indeed not. What do you think of this train? Soon the little clown called out, Look, a great big strong engine is coming. Please, oh please, big engine, cried all the dolls and toys. Won't you pull our train over the mountain? Did you see this train? It's huge. See? I am a freight engine, the big strong engine bellowed. I have just pulled a train with big heavy machines. I am a very important engine indeed. I won't pull the likes of you. And the big engine pulled off. The little train and all the dolls and toys were very sad. Cheer up, said the little clown. The big engine is not the only one in the world. Here comes another. What does this train look like? He looks very old and tired, but our train is so little. Perhaps he can help us. Do you think this train can help them? There. But the rusty old engine sighed. I am so tired. I must rest my weary wheels. I cannot pull even so little a train as yours over the mountain. I cannot, I cannot, I cannot. And off he rumbled. Oh, look at the toys. What happened to them? By now, the dolls and toys were so sad they were ready to cry. But the little clown called out, Here comes the little blue engine. There, a very little one. Maybe she will help us. The very little engine came, chugging merrily along. What is the matter, my friends? She asked kindly. Oh, little blue engine, cried the dolls and toys. Will you pull us over the mountain? Our engine has broken down, and the good boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or good food to eat unless you help us. Please, please help. What do you think the blue engine will do? I am not very big. I have never been over the mountain, but I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. And the little blue engine hitched herself to the train. Where is she? There she is. She tugged and pulled and pulled and tugged. And slowly, 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 they started off. Puff, puff, chug, chug, went the little blue engine. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Up, 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 faster and faster the little engine climbed until at last they reached the top of the mountain. Hooray, hooray, cried the little clown and all the dolls and toys. The good little boys and girls in the city will be happy because you helped us. And the little blue engine smiled and seemed to say as she puffed steadily down the mountain, I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could. The end.
Yay! Thank you, Jen. You know, when you were telling the story, the two boys came in the room and started listening.
Oh.
Yeah, they were just here. So we asked them to leave again because the story was ending.
So may magnet
Okay.
talaga. There's really a magnet when when parents
Tell
read aloud and tell
stories and read
stories.
aloud.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
All right. Thank you so much, Jen. This is very enlightening. This is actually very encouraging again. Parang ako convicting every time we have a guest and we have guests telling us what we need to do. Actually, Tammy's been telling me to do this, but again, as they say, if you hear it from another person, it makes more sense than your spouse. No, so I think we'll have an episode on that also.
Yeah.
Na?
Listening to your wife.
Yeah, listening to your
To
no,
your
to your
spouse.
spouse.
Yes.
Oh, baka mag-away pa tayo
Oo,
dito.
to your
Oo.
spouse.
Ayun. So
Baka
thank you so much.
ano, para hindi din ma-pressure, you could say, oh, I'll just do it every Friday. It's like a
Mm.
read aloud with dad or something like
Yeah.
that.
Once a month, once a year, or every Friday of the...
Once a quarter.
Sige, I'll text Mark na lang and ask if he's been doing it.
Sige, challenge ko din siya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you,
Again, I
Jen.
know
Thank
this
you.
has
Thank you
helped so
also.
many parents, and I know you've been blessed by this. So we'd like you, if this episode has blessed you, has encouraged you, please do like, subscribe to our channel. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Spotify for our audio podcast. Thank you again for joining our conversation. We hope you've learned some principles and practical things that can help you as you journey along in your parenting. God bless you, everyone. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jen. Thank
God
you.
bless
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.